go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Be Healthy and Thrive podcast. Today, we're talking about natural skin and beauty and care routine with Kelly. Kelly, can you just introduce yourself and welcome?
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's exciting to chat with you about this. I know we're very like-minded on this topic, so it's good to talk with you. So my name is Kelly Bonanno, and I'm an organic beauty specialist and eco-friendly living wellness coach. So I help people learn about and detox their personal care and beauty routine and their homes and their lifestyle. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. My dog is barking.
It's life. It's okay.
It's a dog outside. He's not barking at. So people just don't realize that what we put on our skin is just as important as what we're putting in our bodies. So that's what I try to educate on that level and teach people not just how to do it, but also why it's important, but definitely how, and to try to teach them that it doesn't have to be scary or overwhelming or difficult or necessarily that expensive. I mean, it's not always, organic's not always more expensive.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. And I even think about with people, even in regards to eating healthy, they're like, always the question is, how do I eat healthy on a budget? I'm like, yeah, you definitely can. It just takes a little more planning. Like it just takes a little bit more planning at first. And then once you got it, you can do it. You have like your go-tos, right? That's amazing.
And it becomes a habit. And so then it's not difficult. It's
exactly.
Just habits.
Yeah. And starting small. So tell us a little bit how you got started in this world. I think your story is so amazing and it's so beautiful. So yeah, just tell us how you got started in the toxin-free world.
I know I kind of call myself the accidental environmentalist. Very health-minded. I've been vegetarian most of my life. I ate healthy, worked out, exercised, health-minded. I was following Dr. Oz back in the 90s, like way before he was on Oprah, and he had that Real Age, that was his big website, Real Age, and kind of like your real age as opposed to your chronological age, like you can live healthier and be younger for your years. And I kind of liked that idea. I mean, I was young back then, but I just thought if I start now, I'll be healthier throughout my life. And there was some talk about deodorant back a long time ago, a little bit here and there. And remember the Crystal deodorant was getting really big in the 90s. But that was sort of among the really natural, crunchy granola, tree-hugging types. A little bit more prevalent out here in California. I live in Southern California. So you didn't really, some of us are just naturally crunchy without even being, too obviously crunchy. Just it's the philosophy out here of a lot of people. But I started kind of researching that, and so I knew antiperspirant was not healthy. And so I started using the Crystal, but back then there were hardly any clean deodorant. I mean, Crystal really was your only choice, and it didn't always work that well. So it wasn't a change that I could really wholeheartedly make. And so it was kind of on my radar, but I remember having a moment in the shower. And this is a long time ago. I was single before I had kids, before I even thought about it. And I remember looking at my shampoo bottle, looking at the ingredients, and there's this long list of ingredients, most of which I can't even pronounce, have no idea what they are. And I just had this thought, like, how do I know that all of this is really safe? Each one of these ingredients are safe for me to be putting on my body. And I really quickly dismissed it, thinking, well, if it wasn't, it wouldn't be allowed to be sold on store shelves because there've got to be some safety measures in place. So I didn't even think about it again. Then years later, as it's a growing movement, but growing, but still small. This was back, let's see, I was pregnant with my 11-year-old, so almost 12 years ago. I literally accidentally, I don't even know how I got on his mailing list, but there's a California legislator that was, he's an environmentalist, and he started talking about sending emails about information on BPA and phthalates and the toxins in plastics. And so that kind of got the ball rolling. So I learned about that, and I realized, okay, my then 3-year-old, I had a 3-year-old at the time too, he's, all his sippy cups and bottles and toys and everything have all these toxins that he's, eating off of or drinking out of. And I just, it drove me nuts. And then I started slowly realizing and researching that it's also the situation with the products that we're putting on our skin. And that it was what really scared me, and the things that I was using on my child. And I just started doing my research. I mean, it was a slow process. I learned in increments. And then in 2011, I started a blog, and the focus was, mom stuff, but mostly lifestyle. So health and wellness. And then more and more eco-friendly living, the more I got, educated myself and the more research I did, that sort of the focus became more on that. And it was I just slowly researched and learned until I realized and did the research that there is no regulation. So there's no laws in place that say, well, you can't use these harmful chemicals in makeup or shampoo or body lotion or any personal care products or baby products. And that really was what sounded the alarm for me, because I thought if there's no safety measures in place, then anything can be in these formulations. And so I started doing the research, and the fact is anything is. There are carcinogens and endocrine disruptors and neurotoxins and allergens and irritants that are all perfectly fine for manufacturers to use, and most of which have not been tested for safety. And there are many that have been tested, but they're still allowed to be used. So we as in America only ban 19 harmful chemicals, and the Europe bans 1,342. So there's chemicals that we are freely allowed to use that they can't use over there. Now, they still use some harmful chemicals, but by and large, they've cleaned things up a great deal. And but here in America, it's wide open, and manufacturers can and do use whatever they can, because it's the bottom line. I mean, if it's cheaper, if it's easier, and some things aren't even necessarily cheaper, they're just easier. There's toxic stuff that make things smoother, more emollient, that make things, makeup and cosmetics and things, feel the way you want them to feel. And so they'll use them at the cost of our health, even though there are substitutes and alternatives that are not toxic. And there's a lot of money being spent by these big companies to keep a lid on it and to not have any regulation. And so it's up to us as consumers to protect ourselves and be our own advocates. So that's why I'm a big proponent of education. Knowledge is power. Knowledge with action is power. So, you learn about it and you make changes. And I'm a big believer in small changes. Do what you're comfortable with. It doesn't have to be an overhaul. Small changes, really do make a difference in your health. But your skin is your largest organ, and there's no filtering process. When it goes on your skin, it goes in your system. And so, your liver is not even really detoxifying, because it's the way food is, ingested and digested and goes through the liver. So a lot of it can go straight through the bloodstream. That's the scary part. And so when you are, the other part of the problem is we use so many products, and in each product is are so many ingredients. So it's really a cumulative effect. And it's not something that, okay, you use something and tomorrow you're going to feel the effect. It's a cumulative effect down the line. And, there's so much incidence of illness and autoimmune disease and, disorders like ADHD and so on the rise. And there's a correlation between, our environment. It's only 10% of cancers are genetic. So 90%, they're coming from our environment and our lifestyle and what we're eating and what we're putting on our skin. So that foreshadowing moment that I had in the shower, I'll never forget it, because I'm like, God, I was right.
Yeah.
So at least I finally figured it out and know better now.
Yeah. I just love what you're saying too. Just kind of, and even when you go away from it for a while and you come back to those toxins, like even what you smell, it's overwhelming. Like I went to get my car cleaned, which we rarely do, but I went and got it clean at a professional place. And they put this freshener after. I literally drove away and I was like, put my windows down, which you're not supposed to do. And I couldn't take it. Or going into a perfume shop at Christmas because that's what everyone buys. I can't do it because my body's so used to not smelling. Like literally I start to feel sick, but people are used to that on a constant basis, to that systematic toxicity that you're talking about, that in the end adds up.
They don't even realize it. And it's so true. I am so aware of it now. I can't, one thing I can't, I mean, literally, some kids will get in my car, my kids' friends, and I can smell the toxic laundry detergent off-gassing from their clothes. And once you get clean, you feel the difference. You smell the difference.
Yeah. And even if you start to use a product that like maybe you ran out of it or a different one, like, it's like your body can tell right away. And how I knew this I love that we're talking about this, is when I was younger, I could not use any face wash other than like, at the time, Dove Sensitive Skin, which, we thought was the best. But because it didn't have, I think, perfume, whatever. Yep. Anything else would make me break out. But I thought I just had sensitive skin. But in actuality, it was the fragrances in the thing that was harming me, right? But no one told me that. My dermatologist was just like, hey, just use this thing. What?
Because they don't really know. I mean,
exactly.
Doctors are not trained in this kind of thing.
Yeah. So that's what I love what you're saying. It's about empowering ourselves to know, and really that. So kind of what are some of the things that you offer people to kind of educate them, but also, maybe people want to work with you one-on-one to walk through this? What are the things that you kind of work on?
Well, I try to meet people where they are. And if someone's kind of overwhelmed and they just want to start slow, we'll do that. If someone's like, you know what, overhaul everything. I mean, we can do that, clean out the bathroom cabinet, the makeup bag, the bathroom, everything, your household cleaners. You can do a whole overall, or baby steps, or just increments. So I work with people in different ways, one-on-one, where I'll just kind of guide you through detoxing and switching things over. And also depending on not only what you want, but what you're comfortable with and what you can afford. Because it is an investment. If you're going to throw things out and replace, you don't necessarily have to replace with more expensive things, but sometimes they are more expensive. I mean, take deodorant, for instance. A quality deodorant that is not harmful, that actually works for more than a few hours, is going to be more expensive than Dove or, it is. But in the long run, I will pay for the long-term health effects, and also pay for something that actually works. Some of the deodorants, I remember I've tried dozens over the years, and they either work for maybe a few weeks or a few months, and then your body gets used to them, or they only work till maybe 3 p.m. and then, so to find a good quality one. And antiperspirant is very toxic, and those chemicals that are even in deodorants that don't have an antiperspirant, I mean, those chemicals they find in breast cancer biopsy samples. So I can work one-on-one. I also have a few group programs, which I find are really great because then people can learn from each other also.
Right. Yeah.
So in fact, I have a 30-day program starting in October, in a few weeks. It's starting on October 23rd. And it's kind of similar, your Whole30 program. So I liken it to that. That's a food-based, product-based. Yeah. And it's to kind of jumpstart and get you. So each week we'll focus on a different topic to detox. And I take a very holistic approach. It's not just don't use these toxins, don't use these products, use these products. It's also, little gently cleansing system habits, just daily habits you can implement, because you want to be kind of cleansing your system on a constant basis, because we're bombarded with toxins that we really have no control over. What's off-gassing at the office you work in, or even your own home. I mean, furniture, carpets, chemtrails, whatever they're spraying at parks, hidden things in certain foods. You're kind of bombarded with it. So you want to be gently detoxing your system through diet's a big one, but just little habits like warm water with lemon in the morning. That's a great way to start the day and get your system, your digestive tract going. But also it's a very gentle way of detoxing. So, and then there's just anti-aging methods and ingredients and habits that are not toxic that, work and it can help you look better. I mean, because a lot of it's like we want to look better and look younger. Why do we do Botox? Why do we have certain anti-aging products that are filled with toxins? And so many of these toxins, they cause inflammation, and inflammation is an ager. I mean, it harms, it causes disease, but it also causes aging. So it's such a contradictory thing. Anything that's going to cause inflammation is not going to make you look better, So the other thing is there's allergens to look at. So I work with people. There might be just some little, if someone has eczema or their kid has asthma or just some kind of skin irritation or anything, you can sometimes trace it back to an ingredient or a couple of ingredients. Like one of my clients, she was having skin issues. She even went and used the toxic stuff at the dermatologist. Nothing was working. But when she went through the program and detoxed, her skin was fine. Just by changing out some regular products. She didn't have to buy anything specifically for the rash,
Mm-hmm.
I love that story.
Mm-hmm.
I love it when I see just some small, simple changes can really do wonders for the way you look and feel. And that's the other thing is this kind of thing when you're detoxing your beauty routine, you're improving your health because you're taking out things that, are harming our health as well as our looks.
Yeah. And I love that you focus on that we can still be beautiful and be healthy and natural. Because I think sometimes people are like, natural, I'm going to look rough. It's like, no, natural does not mean like everything's all over. It's like, and to be quite frank, like it's funny because since like the last 2-3 years of me using more natural stuff in my hair and my skin, I don't know if I notice it, but people are like, your skin's great or your hair is like healthier. And I'm like, oh, wow. It actually looks and feels better. But a lot of people think the opposite. So I love that you actually niche down and say, let's not just clean out, but let's still be beautiful and be healthy.
Well, that's kind of what part of my philosophy is. Going organic, going green, you can still be sexy, hot, beautiful, It's absolutely. And I think that's a lot of people get kind of shocked when I tell them what I do. They're like, oh, really? Okay. You don't look like the tree hugger type.
No. Like your hair, and you're like, what do you think I was doing here?
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, your skin can look great. You can wear glamorous, beautiful makeup. Your hair can be gorgeous. And like you said, you really look, I know I look better from switching.
Mm-hmm.
And my hair, I do have healthy hair. So a disclaimer, it's not, I have pretty thick hair. It's healthy. It's not, but it's much better since switching over because it could tend to get dry and I noticed it was getting drier and not looking as good and not growing as fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I because I sort of made a slow switch with the hair. I switched things out. I have some organic stuff and then I'd also use some of the other stuff. But when I made the swift switch and didn't use anything toxic, that's when I really noticed. Mm-hmm. And I get compliments on my hair all the time, and
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So.
What are your top 3? I know it's probably very hard. Top 3 favorite products that you use, like in your skin, your hair, your makeup.
Oh man.
Well, maybe not top 3, but just 3 of them.
Okay, 3 great ones are, let's see. Okay, for hair, I mean, I can give you a couple of brands because each brand has, some of like 100% Pure has really great.
Mm-hmm.
They have different shampoos for different, hydrating, smoothing, that kind of thing. Pure Haven Essentials. Now they only have one type of shampoo, but that I was using religiously and only that for a while. That I feel like really got my hair in shape. So it's for hair, it's not necessarily what you're using or what you're not, but these things don't have coal tar, sulfates, things that actually clog the follicles in your hair. So they can cause breakage and damage and dryness and strip your hair. So I don't color my hair. I get like little grays right here. So I do a tiny touch up here, but luckily I don't have to color all of it. But if you do color your hair, sulfates and all those toxins are going to strip the color. So your color might last a little longer too. And for skin, that's a tough one. If I had to pick one thing, I mean, a good clean serum with like a facial oil or serum that has CoQ10, argan oil. Just look for those things. Hyaluronic acid is a great one too, but it has to be done right, and it has to be, if there's a fine balance. It can be very drying. That's one I like to recommend, but you have to use it properly. If you have to really moisturize with it. But otherwise, it does. Your body already produces hyaluronic acid, so, and it plumps the skin, and can be very hydrating if it's accompanied with a lot of moisture. But and vitamin C, a good clean vitamin C serum, that, especially if you have any kind of hyperpigmentation, does wonders for evening out a skin tone. That's a good one. And as far as brands, 100% Pure is really great. They have a lot of good anti-aging things. One brand, a brand new, I like to discover new lines, because that's the other thing, is there's so many great alternatives. I mean, there's small companies that no one's ever even heard of.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to kind of bring those to the forefront. I have a lot of brands that I recommend that I've researched, vetted. They're clean, they're safe to use, you know. But Inlight is one that I'm actually going to do a review and giveaway soon. I've got a delightful facial oil that I love, and I've used it for probably a couple months now, and I feel like my skin is looking a little better. I mean, it's just got a great consistency, wonderful smell without, I mean, obviously nothing toxic. So that's kind of a new indie line that one of my favorite ones that I've recently discovered.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And I think what I love is that you're not just kind of sharing with people, stay away from this. Because I think that's what we do when we're so like, we find out the negative about, even when it comes to food, we're like, just don't do this. You're like, but here's what you can do. Because I think whenever, like, say I teach a nutrition talk at my gym, I'm like, here's the things to avoid. And they're like, And I'm like, here's the things you can have. Let's talk about how we can make that creative, So I love that you're like, well, here's the things that are harmful for you, but here are some great brands, and here are some things that might work for you as an individual as well.
Right. And it's fun. I mean, that's what I've also noticed. Like, if I didn't go green, I wouldn't have discovered all these wonderful things. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of DIY things you can do. I mean, straight up egg white facial mask. I mean, that will give you a tightening, I do that before I go out sometimes. It gives you that little lift, and it's completely natural. I like to give myself a Manuka honey mask, just Manuka honey on my face for like 10, 20 minutes before I wash, that actually cleanses also. And sometimes I'll only do that, if I don't wearing any makeup or much makeup, that'll just cleanse it.
Oh, wow. Wow, you have so many great things. So what would you advise people, like kind of those listening, the one thing that, like, one step that they can take to really like go forward and start, so it's not overwhelming and so forth? Okay,
one thing, a good little place to start is look at your products and look at anything that has the word fragrance or parfum, like you had mentioned, perfume. That is one of the most toxic ingredients there is, because the FDA, while they don't do any regulation, they do step in and say, oh, that's a trade secret, so you don't have to disclose what you put in your fragrance. And 90% of the time, it's going to be something toxic, including phthalates. And it could be some kind of thing you might be allergic to that you don't even know you're exposed to, because it's not listed on the ingredient label, just the word fragrance. It will be listed among the ingredients, but that word fragrance, you don't know what's in there. So unless it's, really the only safe are essential oils for fragrance. And there's great mixes, and some companies have developed amazing blends of fragrance. So it's not like you have to go fragrance free necessarily. You just don't want synthetic fragrance. Now, if there's something you love, you can call the company, and sometimes they will say, this is what's in our fragrance, and maybe it's okay. Especially some of the cleaner lines. I'll notice some of the cleaner lines, they have fragrance, and that's such a red flag. But a few of them I've called and they said it's fragrance, but it's only, X, Y, and Z essential oil. So that's okay. But some lines, like one that is at the mall and very popular, very clean for the most part, but then they use a synthetic fragrance that's not safe at all. And so you have to really be careful. And it's a big step, because you'd be surprised how many of your products do have perfume or fragrance in there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. I think that's very doable and a great place to start.
Yeah, it is doable. And if there's something you're like, well, this has fragrance in it, but I happen to love it. Now, if it has 10 other toxic things, that might be something you want to research to get rid of. But if it might be clean otherwise, call the company, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so then tell us a little bit. I know you have a lot of great stuff coming up. I know you have a webinar and a program and you have a freebie. So tell us about that, because I want people listening to be like, okay, I want some help here. Here's how Kelly can help. So.
Yes, exactly. It's like I said, knowledge with action. That's So I'm doing a webinar this week, and it's, you know, the truth about toxicity and detoxing your beauty and personal care routine and reducing illness. And I'm going to give, you know, some concrete steps and tips to help people kind of start that journey. Or even if you've already started the journey, you know, these are some things that you can do to further your journey. And then a much deeper dive, of course, is my 30-day program that starts on October 23rd. That it's going to be, I'm going to have a private Facebook group every week. I'm going to go live, and, you know, I'll record it also. So if someone can't be live, but I'm going to do it live. So that way people participating can ask questions and get some feedback from me. And we're going to, you know, concentrate on a specific topic every single week. And by the end of the 30 days, you know, you'll be pretty detoxed and know what to do and how to do it. And because it can be overwhelming. And I know that. And I know that because I've been there. And the one thing I really want to teach people, and this is another takeaway I'd love for your listeners to get today, is something that's very prevalent in the industry is called greenwashing. And that's when companies, you know, give the false impression that they're clean, green, natural, pure, organic. And that's because there's no regulation, as I mentioned before. So they can put whatever labels they want on their products. So people think, oh, it says it's pure, clean, natural. It can even say organic. But if you know your ingredients, you look and you're like, well, there's tons of toxins in here. This is not pure. Because there's no regulation, there's no standards. They don't have to abide by any rules. So, and then there's companies that maybe are pretty clean. Like they might not have sulfates. They might not have propylene glycol. And so they list all the great things they don't have, which is great. But then if you know you look and you think, well, but you have 7 other toxins. Those are carcinogens and endocrine disruptors. So that's what makes me really mad, is greenwashing, when they're leading people to believe it's clean when it's really harmful. That's a big problem. Now, if it's certified organic, they can't say it's certified organic and not be, but they can mislead as much as they want. And so that's one thing I really want to teach in the program, is how not to get greenwashed, because I was so greenwashed. And I think back to some of the products I used, and I'm like, whoa, I can't even buy. And you know, that I gave my kids thinking this is clean and okay, and it's not. And then on the other side of it is there are companies that I wouldn't call them greenwashers. They claim that they're safer. You know, maybe they're not 100% pure. Maybe they do use some synthetics, but safe synthetics. They don't use, you know, you won't find carcinogens or any endocrine disruptors, but they're still safer. So that's another thing, is I have a list of brands and products that I give people in my program and I kind of tell, okay, this is 100% pure. These are maybe not as pure, but much cleaner. I mean, it's much better than going to your department store or Sephora. Although Sephora, as many Sephoras have Tata Harper, that's a clean line. You can find it. And they just started using Antonym, or carrying Antonym. That's another clean line at Sephora. That's the other thing I'm trying to teach people is, I started doing some Facebook Lives, like when I'm in Target or TJ Maxx, like this is what I found into, you know, that's clean, because you need to know what to use. And
And then I know you have a freebie. Was it the 10?
Oh yeah.
You have so many good stuff. So it's like, hard to remember.
The Savvy Girl's Guide to Liquid Anger in 10 Easy Steps. And that's just nice, quick 10 tips that you implement, and it's holistic. You know, it's a wellness and beauty tips. Yes, I'll give you the link so people can download that. It's free. It's basically my top wellness and organic beauty tips. Yeah.
And then you also have your Facebook group too, where people can get some questions. So you have a lot of things that people can join in on. So
is awesome. I'll give you the link to that too. I love that because it's it's small, but it's interactive, and people, you post something, oh, I'm looking for an organic, mascara. You'll get tons of recommendations and lots of discussion in there. So
Yeah. There is. I love going there.
And if people have questions, I try to get in there and answer. And I've been trying to do more Facebook Lives. I just did one on, rather than kind of reviewing one product, I'll do, sort of like a genre. I did sunscreen. I talked about 7 different sunscreens, what I liked, what I didn't, and I'm going to do mascaras soon. I'm going to do that this week. Been trying different things to kind of, see what works for me, what I didn't like, what I did like.
Yeah. That's great. Oh yeah. You have so many great resources. And I honestly think anyone wanting to just overhaul their beauty, their cleaning, all that should definitely check one of all of these things out.
Right now, like my 30-day program, it's going to focus more on personal care and beauty. I'm another one probably after the first of the year that'll focus on your home, cleaning out your cleaning stuff, and even candles, they emit toxic things, and pet stuff. And so go, more eco-friendly lifestyle and home, because it's, I definitely help with that too. And then I have a bigger program for people who really want to dive deep and really want hand holding. They could work with me, one-on-one. It's like a 3-month program where I really spoon feed, it's kind of like, I liken it to nutrition. If you went through a nutrition course, it's sort of like, I'm your nutritionist for the outside of your body,
Yeah. No, what you are. But, and what I love what you're saying too. So sometimes it's like, people don't recognize, it's like, you may change your whole diet. You may change your sleeping. You may change how much you're managing stress, but you are still putting this toxic load on your body through your chemicals, almost more than, like, I'm not going to say this, but it's like, okay, no, I'm not going to go there, but pretty much we need to look at it all. I was going to say, maybe we shouldn't eat well, but we should.
We definitely should. But there are scientists that have been quoted saying what you're putting on your skin is more important than,
Yeah, because what you're saying is so true. It is our biggest organ, and it all goes in. And what you smell goes in, because you're right, candles. I used to be a candle woman. But now I have so many that I just don't use.
Right, they're just decorative.
I just can't smell it. Yeah, I know I need to probably make my own and all that eventually. Baby steps.
Well, there are clean candles. There are clean candles out there.
Yeah. So that's in your next program.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you would like to just share with us before we go?
No, I just hope that I just want to impress upon people that it doesn't have to be overwhelming or difficult, and there are alternatives. And there are ways to do it that don't have to be, and it's not to scare, or overwhelm, it's to educate. And once you know better, you can do better and be healthier, and the other thing, like I'm gluten-free. I was using products with gluten, but that's no wonder that I was still having issues, because that's going in my system. So if you just learn little things like that, and it can make a world of difference.
Yeah. I love it.
At one point, she went off one little change. She was exhausted, and she was, otherwise very healthy. And I asked her, this has nothing to do with products, but I asked her if she was drinking, sodas. She was drinking a lot of Diet Coke a day. When she eliminated that, it changed her world. She's like immediate energy. She still tells me years later, like, she's like, Kelly, I can't believe, like, thank God you finally told me just that one little tweak, and that's more, diet and nutrition, not product, but the same can be said for products, one little tweak can make a world of difference.
But I love that you address everything then, right? You're not like just this, like, you're not going to ignore that. Cause like, oh, and I don't know. That's it.
Right. And I'm not a nutritionist, but we do, I do have a week that focuses on beauty from the inside out, and
so good.
Nutrients that are, important, but also have an effect on your skin, and look for, and some things to avoid. Like GMOs, and don't get me started. That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we can go on like this forever. It's a similar conversation to a couple people I've interviewed. It's just, I totally am there with you. So thank you so much. Everyone listening, I'll be sure to post the links that goes along with this podcast for everything that Kelly talked about. So you can definitely please use her resources. Don't just listen to this and think it was great and inspiring. Actually take action, right? Knowledge and action. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kelly, for joining us.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Yes, it was. Thank you.